Hello YouTube, Liverpool fan in Japan here, the Miyazaki man's side. But before we get on to Liverpool, what a win for Japan, 4-2 against Vietnam, but credit to Vietnam's name. An up and coming nation, trusting their youngsters, tactically flexible as well. They played with passion, enthusiasm. It was very frustrating. They even took the lead. Wonder goal header, looping over Suzuki. Zion Suzuki had better days, he palmed the second one out, tapping at the back post as well. But hey ho, Vietnam deserved it. But overall, the quality of Japan, the speed, the aggression, the overall ability of the players and the squad. I mean, there's a lot of talent in Japan. I mean...
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, the fan base is good in Japan as well. But literally, like, Japan, a little bit like Liverpool. They have so many options off the bench and to change the systems and change the personnel as well. Takefusa Kubo came on and had an influence. He assisted a goal as well. And he doesn't even start. Taki Minamino, great to see him in a number 10 slot, roaming around shadow striker behind the main striker as well. Wataru Endo threaded through. I think he passed it through the legs, nutmegged him as well. But in the Japan setup, Wataru Endo shows some of his playmaking capabilities because he can slice through the opposition as well. And we'll get to that. It would have been a sight to see Wataru Endo leading out to Takumi Minamino, you know, his captain, the Iron Emperor, Endo-san, right? Threaded through to Minamino. Minamino has a great slotted shot. He's always had a composure in the final third. Great technical attributes, great technical ability, great movement as well. He's not the fastest, but he's plucky as well. It's just a physicality. He can get bullied a little bit, but he's very intelligent at finding those pockets of space. But he needs a run of games to get into form, to get into the groove, and finish with aplomb, right? Those side foot placed finishes with enough pace on it, precision into the side of the net, beautiful. Taki's always been good at that. Do you remember the one against Leicester? Over the top, chest, boom, in the corner. Composure, smooth. Love Taki, great player. Hope he does well at Monaco. And actually, I hope Vietnam get out of group stage as well. They deserve it. Big up the Vietnam. That was a beautiful display. But when you're trying to defend against 90 minutes from the likes of Takumi Minamino, Keito Nakamura, for example, Nakamura is a left-sided dirt coit. He plucks away. He presses like a beast. He never gives a full back. The opposition a rest. He harasses the opposition. He's so vital in actually giving it his all the energy on the left side of the field. He negates any attacking right full back, and he's got a bit of quality about him. Cutting inside, waiting for that window of opportunity to bend it into the corner. Keito Nakamura always scores. I think he's got 6 and 6. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. 6 and 6, isn't it? I think Keito needs a good team around him because I seem to remember in the lower levels it must have been under 20 or something like that. I don't think he scored. He had a few appearances there, but he didn't score. But he get called up to the first team quite quickly, and as soon as he's playing with the quality players in and around him, he gets that opportunity. He slots it away. He's clinical. He's composed. I think he needs a good team around him, but he's a hard worker. That's one thing you can never doubt about Keito Nakamura. He's a grafter. Probably one to look at in the future as well. So yes, on Friday 19th, Japan next square up against Iraq. Pretty confident about that game as well. It'll be really fun to watch. I think overall Japan's movement and fluidity in and around the penalty box area, it's going to be very hard to keep them out as well. Ko Itakura, very solid. Liverpool, keep your eyes out on him. I suggested him for a Liverpool transfer as well. He would be very prominent for now and in the future as well. But let's talk about the game breakers, as mentioned in the title of the video and the thumbnails as well. Liverpool, I think, have 4 real pests at the moment for opposition managers to try to work out what they're going to do and prevent them from doing their thing. Ultimately, we did have additional players who can do certain things as well, but I'll bring them up later, and I wouldn't quite count them as a game breaker because they only have 1 or 2 attributes that the opposition need to stifle, and unfortunately one of them's out injured and one of them plays in a position that isn't the most obvious for breaking tactical play. So let's get into it. 4 tactical game breakers, and what I define that by is players, when you're looking from the opposition point of view, from their perspective, that you have a very hard time accounting for, to nullify, to negate, to take them out of the game, to take the influence out of the game. The number one thing nowadays, the number one fad nowadays is pressing, pressure, setting up the traps, composed pressing to turn over the ball. When you get the ball, you can do something with the ball. Either that, you set up the traps and you counter press, etc. Breaking the press is absolutely essential. And nowadays, the press is very organized. It's not just wild animals chasing after the spherical object. It's literally a tactical ploy. We press here, we don't press here. We press this player, we press him in all directions here. We close the passing lane here. In the tactical boardroom, I'm sure at least 50% of the time they're talking about pressing, counter pressing, turnovers, that kind of thing, right? Transitions. So we have 4 game breakers in Liverpool, and I'm going to wield them with the Anfield bus right about now. How cool is that? 1 plays in the engine room. But yeah, first I'm going to whip up the tactics board, and let's start with the obvious one, Trent Alexander Arnold. What can opposition do to stifle Trent Alexander Arnold? And let's look at this from multiple perspectives. So obviously Trent, our starting right back, this is one of the strongest variants of our squad. Not necessarily the strongest, but work with me here. So Trent Alexander Arnold, we know from previous seasons and the title winning season as well, he creates that triangle on the right hand side there. Traditionally that would have been Henderson, Fabinho at the base as well. We know when he's in and around the half space, let's say this right third of the pitch here, anywhere in and around this area here, his delivery is unmatched probably in world football. You're talking about Gerrard, you're talking about Beckham, these kind of players who whip in the ball and it's a goal all day. So what can they do to stifle this? Well, you can have someone covering him, but it's very, very difficult to cover someone at right back because you don't want to push your left winger on him. The left winger, unless you've got a left-sided Dirk Kuyt, Keita Nakamura, to actually pin him back. Majority of the play happens in and around the middle third, the congested area, which is number one key reason why you don't want to put Trent starting as there, because it's easy to sit an N'Golo Kante, to sit a Michael Essien, to sit that kind of player on him and really nullify his space. They were very effective at negating Gerrard on the occasion. He really found it tough to find those pockets of space starting in midfield against Chelsea, which is why they're always very, very tight affairs. Okay, so you can't really cover for him. Szoboszlai can obviously cover for Trent when he transitions into space, and when he's in and around half space, Nunes, possibly Gakpo, possibly Jota are looking for the back post headers or the balls in and behind as well. Now this is one variant of what he can do. He can whip the ball in there, so it's very, very hard to stop it because traditionally when you got a great cross of the ball, they need to be more progressive, more further forward because they don't have the technique to do this wild bend and drop it on a sixpence, drop it on the spot as well. But Trent's range from passing is anywhere, literally. You could draw this and this anywhere he's effective with a pass, because it doesn't have to be the first time ball into the penalty box area. If he decides, if there's a trigger point, if there's a trigger or a sign that Lucho Diaz can fall off the fullback or fall off the defender, he can whip it all the way across, and straight away you've broken every press in the middle. Every single press in the middle is broken, and any tactical ploy to pressure the opposition, to pressure the number 6 space, to pressure the fullbacks, to play in midfield, it's gone. And straight away you've got a 2 against 2 or 2 against 3 with an on-rushing Salah at the back post to cross. You've got a pullback option as well. So Trent breaks the form in the quarterback kind of capacity from the right back, from the right half space. Now that's just one variant of what Trent can do. Okay, that's one variant. Let's get rid of some of these yellow lines here. I've drawn quite a yellow lines. I'm going to edit this out. Now the other ball that they need to negate from Trent is that around the outside, around the cover, putting Salah one-on-one against a fullback or in the pocket of space between the fullback and the centre-back where he's most dangerous. Salah in this half space here, in between the fullback and the centre-back, that is where he thrives, that is where he lives, that's where he's played majority of his career. Now we want him as a game-winning situation, one of the win conditions, to get him pinned in there, so someone makes an overlapping run, take one of the defenders away, someone causes havoc in and around, Agent of Chaos, creating the space for him to shoot or him to play make, to play the ball, or do his thing. It's a Mo Salah kind of situation there. That's one of the winning game conditions. You place him in there in a chance of maximum opportunity for him to do something creative there. And you can't stop that ball from Trent because that ball goes around the outside there. He can obviously ping it through the lines into Szoboszlai as well, or for an on-rushing fullback, because when he's got the ball here, the actual threat is on this side of the pitch as well as that, because he can play it down the line. So you've got to look for that ball as well as the crossfield ball onto Robertson or the crossfield ball into Lucho Diaz as well. And the thing is, he's going to play it right-footed, but in seasons gone past, he cuts inside and plays a left-footed cutter into Robertson or to Diaz. So it's very, very difficult to stop Trent from transitioning the ball, breaking your press and putting yourself straight onto the back foot. Okay, so how do you negate that? Do you press him, or do you look to follow the runners or follow the markers? Opposition players have to be very, very aware where the positions of ball play in terms of second phase can happen. And as I've just shown you, literally, as soon as Trent's on the ball anywhere, the ball can literally end up anywhere, and straight away you're in the next phase of play and you've got to defend that situation. You've got to come up with scenarios, the 2v1s, the right positioning, cutting up the channels to prevent that. Which is why Trent is such a game breaker from this position, because as an opposition setting up your shape, setting up your formations, do you really commit so much to the press, or do you hold some players back to negate the channels, the lines of play for phase 2? It's a very, very hard decision, and that's only when Trent starts from the right back position, because he can see the spaces to roam into, and he can see the runs, and he can see what the opposition is looking to do, shuffling the player out wide, channeling them into a Van Dijk or whatever for the opposition. But even more so, okay, if you decide that you want to try to target Trent's vulnerabilities, then when he pushes up, it's the opposition winger or overlapping fullback that operates in half space here, which Konate has to cover, and you're trying to get in and behind that position here, okay, with a switch from your right-sided area to the left, similar to what we're doing with Trent, right to left or right down the line. But you try to expose his lack of positioning here, which puts Konate one-on-one, which fortunately for us, Konate's got all the attributes to defend that one-on-one, so he's probably one of the best placed in world football, because he's doing that against Vinicius again and again in Real Madrid match, because Konate bullied Vinicius. But it's a clear tactic to employ, which is why now we have a different shape. What happens is Trent has been inverting into the middle of the field, because straight away now you lose that opportunity to have Trent in a higher position and exploit the space behind him, because where's the space behind him? There is no space, because Konate offers that space, and it's the traditional Dutch style WMWW, I've heard many names for it, but very, very old school formation, where you've got the triangle in amongst triangles. And what can you do? There is no space in this congested third because it's closed up. You don't really want to get the ball there because it's not really a window of opportunity. There's players in front of you and they can see what you're doing and where you're moving. Okay, so the intelligent ploy by Pep Lijnders, who highly pushed for this tactical variation and inversion of Trent, is to get him into these central spaces, because he can still, you've seen his range and accuracy. He only inverts here when the chance permits itself, i.e. when there's not a player pressing and there was not an opposition player who's free enough to roam to cover him in. But luckily we have enough ball players in the midfield that they cannot double up on Trent in this position when he roams into it, just for the fact that there's so much other talent that can hurt you, and they can hurt you in many ways, but they're not game breakers for the fact that you're more likely to understand what you need to do against that particular player. When you're playing against Mo Salah, for example, one of the best players on our team, you know, cut inside, predominantly left-footed. Right-footed shot is so-so. He's only going to do a right-footed shot when he chops inside, in and around this line here, hitting the right foot across goal. He doesn't really place a right-footed shot near post. He hasn't got a fierce drive with right foot either. He's going to try to get in there and pin it across. Sometimes it works against Courtois. He figured it out as well. It's going to be left-footed. He doesn't really go around the outside as well and hit it back or down the lines. He cuts into this space here, stands a man up, and either decides to cut in and shoot if the players give him the space to do so, a chance to do so, or he's playmaking it with the outside the left foot, or playing it in and around and working position as well, or playing it back to Trent, who will whip it in first time as well. So you kind of know how to play against a Mo Salah. You kind of know how to play against Lucho Diaz. Lucho Diaz is more akin to going around the outside. He has that possibility as well, but he's not so effective. Surprisingly, he's not so effective at going out the outside. Going inside as well and playmaking and being a roaming playmaking 10 seems to be his thing at the moment. He's not a traditional winger who goes to the byline and crosses it in. He crosses okay, but he needs to cut inside majority of the time. He's very right-footed as well. He can dribble with both feet, but he's a right-footed shooter predominantly. So you know how to defend against these type of players, similar to Szoboszlai as well, which is why I wouldn't class them as tactical game breakers. Okay, quality players, no doubt, but you can produce a plan against them. But when Trent is in this position, there's added threat of not just the ball around the outside to Salah, the ball around the outside in between the fullback and centre back to Nunes to run on. Okay, so he can slide the ball in behind over the top as well, and he can pierce the press of the opposition by putting it into our front two of the box formation, the 3-4-3 formation as well. So his passing range opens up, and he now has the ability, I would say, to hit more of the central lines, Jones, Szoboszlai, over the top to Nunes as well. So this just gives him more variation. Instead of right to left or right around the outside, he can hit every type of pass in this position. That is variation number 2, and it's very, very hard to stop him because he's protected. He's protected by the fact that you have so many Liverpool bodies in here that you can't double up on him when he inverts into position, because he has the responsibility and the freedom to note when to go into the positions of threat. He can go into the right half space. He can go into this position here. Even more so, when the opposition are pinned back, one of the game-winning conditions is to get Trent into this position, into this kind of position here, which is an inversion of the shape of the diamond, where he is a right-sided diamond player. The reason why is because he still has all the options to play the triangles in amongst himself, which is why Henderson was so good at covering in this particular position. So was Milner, tactically disciplined as well, and which is why you haven't seen Szoboszlai be so offensive in the transition. It's because he's doing a lot of off-the-ball covering, a responsible player. He's Hungary is captain. He knows about responsibility and discipline as well. The experience is vital. When you have Trent in this position, he becomes a shooting threat. Now, he is one of the cleanest strikers of the ball in world football at the moment, and you've seen the goals he scored, not just from free kicks, but his striking ability is out of this world. You see that one where there's no angle at all, and he skimmed it across the bar, right? Some people think it's a cross. It was intentional. Trent knows what he's doing. It's skiddy surface as well. But when you play this formation, it allows him to drive into that space here, this pocket here, which gives him a window of shooting opportunity, as well as sliding the ball in and behind the fullback for Salah to run into. This is a very offensive variant of Trent that gives him shooting capabilities if the shooting lanes aren't blocked as well, and short crosses and whip crosses and little lofts as well. So he's a game breaker for the fact that his range on the pitch is unfathomable. You can't really prepare for everything that Trent Alexander can do. You just have to, as soon as he's made the decision to start the phase 2, transition into a position that gives you the chance to defend yourself, to really, have the chance to defend yourself, and he's a weapon. Trent is an absolute weapon. So game breaker number 1. As a tactical manager, very, very hard to deal with, and you can't just pin him back with a quality winger as well, because defensively he's solid enough, and he's got Konate for backup as well. And if you manage to bypass these two, whoa, Alisson Becker, pack your bags, you ain't going anywhere. Okay, so Trent, game breaker number 1, probably the most obvious game breaker. Now the other two are slightly less obvious, and I want to bring some intangibles here, okay? And this may be called on bias, and sure, hold my hand up. I love this player. I've always loved this player, and I've made you guys love this player hopefully as well. But Wataru Endo, it's not so obvious why he would be a game breaker. He's a small guy in the middle of a pitch. Sure, he leaps like a salmon and can clear the ball out of the air and score headers, and he can play centre back and aerial dominance and whatever, and he's mean and in your face, and he's the emperor, and he's the best. Sorry, I digress. But this player in the number 6 position, shielding the back line, playing the offside trap, holding the line, covering the pockets, the lined pockets, forcing players into set traps, tactically aware and disciplined. This destroyer usually isn't a progressive ball player. But this guy here, as soon as he gets the ball, he cuts the lines like Swiss cheese. He absolutely can get the ball and like, Soboslai, I'm playing you in there. Just go and get your goal. Or, opposition here. He's like, Salah, through the lines, off you go, in and between. Or he's like, Nunes, I see you in that pocket of space. Not a straight ball. Cut the player out, left foot or right foot. He can cut through the opposition with incisive, progressive passing, and he is very forward thinking and very incisive. He's not a simple ball player. He's not just tappy offload it to someone more creative, which he can do because he realizes there's a lot of talent in this squad. For example, Trent, when he inverts there, sure, Endo sounds like Trent. Dozo, boru, ageru, dozo, Trent-san. Sure, and Endo will go, Dozo, you do what you want. I will cover you. Me and Mr. Van Dijk in the back, right? Okay, you do your thing. Go on, Trent. Go and have fun. Okay, but number one, why Endo is a game breaker is because to have such a progressive ball player at the back who can break the opposition press, not just with incisiveness, but of the speed of thinking. Have you seen how quickly he releases the ball? When he sees an opportunity to play the ball forward, he'll take it. And more often than not, he'll find his man. But it's not just that. He can run. He can run as well. He's a bit of a street ball. It doesn't look the most fluid, but he's got techers on left foot and right foot. And this is the one clear example. When a throw-in came in, I think it was from Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott or someone, he shielded the ball, let the ball run across his body and ran and won a free kick in this kind of area as well. He is a master at progressing the ball for a destroyer. It's very, very rare to see. So what do? Crystal Palace had the right idea in that they set the trap in the 6th spot because sure, you stand up your number 10 or your playmaker or someone to kind of sit on him there, right? But they closed in with dual number 8s and a winger. A winger came in as well, right? To close them off. And straight away, as soon as the ball is played into this area, he got hospital passes from Van Dijk, which was very surprising. But they closed him. They closed him straight away, cut the lines off, and they said, right, we're ignoring Trent. We're ignoring the other two in the midfield. As soon as you play in the sixth position, we're crowding him out because he's a threat. He's a threat in the offensive transition. And they did very, very well to snuff him out that game. Okay, sure. Yeah, he can be nullified, and a lot of players play against our press there. But Van Dijk should have been intelligent enough to know that he has an attribute. He's a game-breaking skill as well. He's not a game-breaker, only for the reason that, well, he's a Rolls Royce. You know everything he's going to do as well. You can kind of set up against him. Dominant header, block him off with bodies. The game-breaking facet of Van Dijk is the ability to ping the ball out wide with position, because he, especially right foot, that ball out to Salah. Arteta hates that ball out because they press, they move, they shuffle. Ball back to Alisson. As soon as Van Dijk, bang, first time. Okay, but it only happens on a trigger point. And what I mean by trigger point is when the ball is played to, let's say, a McAllister. Okay, if Van Dijk gives the trigger, gives the nod to McAllister, give me the ball now, here, return it. As soon as the ball is rolled, the first instinct is Van Dijk knows where to ping it to Salah. A trigger point on a return of a 1-2. Now, a lot of people criticise, give me the ball back. Henderson used to do so often, right? Give me the ball, you give it back to me. Give me the ball, give it back to you. Give me the ball, give it back to me. Without purpose. But when there is purpose, such as a trigger point, when you're setting in traps, when you're pressing the team, and as soon as the ball gets rolled back, you play it forward, you break the press instantly. So Van Dijk does have a game-breaking ability, but it's kind of telegraphed as well, because that's all the options he's got. He's just going to ping it out to, most of the time, Salah. Or if he's cornered, penned into the left kind of back slot, he hits it upfield to Diaz. But this isn't more of a game-breaking pass, this is more just a progressive pass to get yourself up the field and hope Luis Diaz wins the 50-50 or the scramble. So, ultimately, Endo has the progressive pass and progressive ability to get the ball forward, but there's one attribute that I think only he has in the team currently that is a game-breaking tactic that the opposition manager can't set up for. And if I just say crunching tackle, not just the fact that it's crunching tackled, fully committed, full-bodied, full-blooded, gum shield, take the man, take the ball, take everything, and he set up a goal, by the way, from going in, getting injured, and the ball going forward as well. He set up that goal. Can't remember which match it was against. Someone remind me as well. But this gives the team impetus and momentum. So for anyone who's played football, right, when you see your leader, when you see Stevie G, 50-50 in opposition, no hesitation, no doubt, going full throttle and clattered opposition, and winning the ball and turning it over and getting opposition on the back foot and getting yourself up the pitch, committing, full-bodied, full-blooded. The people in the stands go ballistic. The people in the TV, behind the TV, the pundits, everyone, oh my god, oh, crunch, wham, whack. And it puts the doubt in opposition as well. The midfielders know that as soon as they have a loose ball or hospital ball or a bad touch, Endo's going to be right there, cleaving through. You go full-bodied in as well, risking injury. And the worst thing is, even if you do that, Endo always ends up with the ball. Somehow, when he crunches someone, he always ends up with the ball, unless he's a second late, and then it's a foul, potential red card. But let's not talk about that. This is a momentum swinger. When you see someone go crunching in, it G's up the crowd, G's up the manager, G's up the bench, the home fans, the pundits, your teammate, follow you into war, into the trenches. This is what Roy Keane talks about. Who do you want in the trenches to change the tide, to change the flow of battle, to change the narration of the story, to change the impetus and the feeling, the soul of the match? Ball forward. That is what you can't prepare for, because as a manager, if you have that kind of guy on the pitch, winning that tackle and bringing your team forward, great. But again and again, slamming into opposition to win the ball, getting the crowd up and win the momentum. That's why the home factor is such a real factor, right? When the fans get excited and get passionate and get a bit horny for something, that is something that he brings that I don't think any other Liverpool player really brings. In that hot-blooded tackle, you feel it. Yes, come on, son. You get that passion. He brings the energy. So that's the game-breaking attribute that I really want to talk about, apart from progressive passing. And I hope you appreciate that's why I think he is one of those. He brings that intangible attribute. And the next player I want to mention is Darwin Nunes. Okay, Darwin Nunes. Reason behind Darwin Nunes is expected goal opportunities. Okay, now this is a double-edged sword. People are going to say, sure, he fluffs his lines, he misses some 1v1s, the keeper pulls a worldie, etc. But the fact that his existence on the pitch always ends up with a high goal expectancy for this Liverpool team, not just himself individually, his team What an asset that is. Okay, so he is leading the way with assists, right? Is it 10 assists? 10 assists? And for good reason as well, because his movement, right? His movement is very, very coordinated. So Pep Linders and Klopp must have devised a strategy for getting him into those opportunities to either create a goal or an assist a goal. And what really helps him, there's two things that really helps him here. One is his physical attributes, the fact that he can pen down a defender, whether centre back or full back. His undoubted speed and acceleration, his physical prowess. He's got decent ability in there as well, right? The fact that he can get about the pitch, he hustles and bustles and pressure as well. But his off the ball movement allows him to be put into positions where the opposition cannot prepare for. Now this is especially prevalent on the left wing. Now when he's on left wing, he's almost unplayable. He's like Cisse on steroids, okay? He is like the kind of Henry that you don't want to face into an open space. Because when you're under pressure, under cosh, right? When they've penned you in, when they've pushed you in and you're looking for an out, when you're looking for an out, it doesn't matter how deep you sit, especially when you've got Trent on the ball as well, or Van Dijk on the ball. That ball, anyone hitting a ball into that space, he'll make something of it, because the opposition player is never going to sit there. They're going to pen you in, press, or look for their space to get on the ball as well. There's never going to be anyone saying, I need to mark Nunes because someone will whack it in the space behind. But just by whacking in the space behind, he's a hot rod, he's lightning, he is a Bugatti, he just goes straight in. Okay, and straight away you're on the back foot defending the thing. It's similar to the Van Dijk to Salah kind of attribute here. Yeah, it's I wouldn't be the opposition player there, because when he stands you up there, he's very, very good at playing the ball across goal. He's not bad at all at playing the ball across goal, but he also is pretty decent at this cutting in shot. So many other players, Nunes, Luis Diaz, Jota and Gakpo, love cutting inside, bending it into the far corner, and they've scored their fair share of that type of goal as well. So I think Nunes' movement, intent, speed and acceleration is something that opposition just can't prepare for, because no matter how deep you are, no matter how deep, anywhere on the pitch, wherever Nunes is, if you think on a diagonal he can contest a 50-50, you relieve the pressure straight away and he can do something with it. He can really, really do something with it. And this is always the fear of playing a high line or playing against a pacey striker. So many defenders hate playing against pace. Nemanja Vidic against Fernando Torres, anyone against Michael Owen. These kind of pace merchants, right, who actually got technical ability and something about them, it's a nightmare to do. And there's no fullback in the world that I think can pen Nunes and stop him from going in behind. But also it's his unpredictability, the fact that it might come off his knee, it might come off his shin, he might score a worldie, he might bend it top corner, he might balloon it over the bar, it might be a missed touch that bops it into Salah's way to hit it first time, when you're never quite sure how good their first touch is going to be, right? There's a few categories here. Either their first touch is very good and become very predictable, or their first touch is so good that even if you know what they're doing, you can't stop them anyway, like Dennis Bergkamp or Berbatov or someone. Or someone whose touch can be out of this world, good or crap, that how can you defend against it? When you don't know what's going to happen, when he doesn't know what's going to happen, when something just happens, it's the first to react. It's a gamble. It's a 50-50. Take a risk, take a chance for a month. I don't know. Is that a Gaga song? Not sure. Anyway, the fact that he's got the unpredictability as well as the physical assets and pace, there's no real way to defend against him. You can't really stand off him because he can turn and run at you. You can't go close to him because the ball might ricochet off his shin and nutmeg you, or go over the top, or go in between the blind spot and half space. It's so hard to play against someone when they don't know what they're doing, but they're doing the right kind of things in the right kind of spaces. Does that make sense? So in that way, he always contributes just for his existence on the pitch and gives us high goal expectancy, an outball, an outlet, and he never stops running, and he's got fabulous hair. So there's your next game breaker. Now, I mentioned 4 game breakers. I really, really wanted to say 7.5 is our right number, 7.5, because Thiago Alcantara in this space here, everything Trent can do, okay, now this bit is a bit taboo, but everything Trent can do, Thiago can do as well. And Thiago's got a better ground through ball than Trent Alexander Arnold, and is a better tempo maestro than Trent Alexander Arnold. But I know he's been indefinitely injured for long periods of the game, and he hasn't got the cross. He hasn't got the cross that, I don't know, I haven't really seen him do it. He probably could do it if he really, really wanted to, but he's playing more on the left these days, and he doesn't do that left-footed cross. So let's say he doesn't have Trent's cross at the moment, but every through ball, every down the line ball, cutting through the opposition, cutting through the press as well, Thiago can do it as well. But just for the sake of less controversy, let's take him out for now, but I'm going to include him. The other game breaker that we potentially got as well is Joel Matip, because how often is he successful when he breaks the lines just by striding and striding and striding and striding? He starts here and he ends up here consistently. He breaks through your lines just through power and running and technique and graph, and he even drops a shoulder and jinx as he gets through because he doesn't care where you are. He'll beat you with a pace, he'll beat you with a stride, he'll beat you with a stride and then balloon it or fluff a ball straight to the keeper. But more often than not, he just passes it and a 1-2, and that's how he got his goal. But unfortunately, he's injured as well, so I'm not going to include him for this particular example. And one other game breaker that I wanted to mention as well, and I did mention that he doesn't really play in a position of influence, but Alisson Becker, when all else fails, when you've got goals around all the pitch and you need a goal to get into Champions League, what can you do against Alisson Becker? And a boff into the goal, you know. Tribute to his dad as well. What can you do? You can't do anything against him. This man's a handsome beast who's the best keeper in the world, the best keeper we've ever had. So yeah, but I'm not going to mention him as well. So the last game breaker that I want to mention isn't even on the pitch at the moment. It is Mr. Diogo Jota. Now, he's a game breaker. He's a great player on the pitch, but he's more predictable. However, when you set up for a team, right? When you set up to play against a Liverpool team and you see him coming on, okay, this guy is maybe the perfect substitute because he can play all across the front line. He's a poacher. He can sniff a goal. He can sniff a goal. When you need a goal to secure the game, to get in the lead of a game, to equalise a game, he can sniff the goals. He's a great poacher. But he's also the best at transitioning the ball and getting the ball and receiving the ball and playing your players in because he knows what kind of pass you need to expect. Coming across the line and playing the perfect ball here to Lucho Diaz to slot into top bins to end the game against Arsenal. Jota can roam across this line here, and imagine there's 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can roam. He can roam in this space as well. He can play left. He can play central as a poacher. He can play right in emergencies as well. He can shoot with the left foot. He can shoot with the right foot. He's amazing in the air jumping. Didn't he beat Saliba in the air on a standing start? He's great with his head as well. And he's played so much FIFA that he knows every possible avenue and tactical variation to shimmy, create the space to go. Keeper coming, okay, I'm just going to go around you. Keeper coming, I'm going to slot it into you. He's got every type of finish. And he doesn't mind being on the bench. He's never complained, never down tools. He probably just wants to go home fit, injury-free and get his FIFA on. So, Diogo Jota is a substitute. When you've been battered by the team for 90 minutes, right? Within the 90 minutes, because he's going to come on within that. What do you do to prepare for Diogo Jota coming in? You can't body block him because he's very happy at playmaking. You can't play the offside trap because he loves to go in behind and he can read situation. You can't snuff him out with a man mark in the box because he's very good at finding a half a yard to find the space. Diogo Jota is a trump card. He's a weapon, absolute weapon from the bench. And my goodness, I think is he our most clinical finisher? He's clinical, isn't he? He's really, really clinical with the ability to shoot left foot, right foot and head with a great mentality and play in all the positions. Tactically, how do you prepare? You let me know in the comments below. You're an opposition manager. It's 0-0. Trent's whipping in the ball. Salah's cutting inside. Lucho Diaz running in behind. Nunes pinning your fullback, running in behind as well. Gakpo might be coming in, dropping off top of the diamond, coming from deep. And then Diogo Jota comes in and he's like, someone get me the ball anywhere in the area and I'll get you a goal. Or anywhere outside the area or I'll make you a goal. Interesting. Probably less of a case for Diogo Jota being a game breaker, but as a substitute, really, I think he is a game breaker, isn't it? What do you do against Diogo Jota coming on? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed this kind of tactical analysis as well. Good fun video here. Amazing job, Japan. Gambata. Next against Iraq on the Friday. Liverpool, not for a while, but back in the Premier League. We really need to hit the ground running as well. Then the cup matches, the return against Fulham. Yeah, it'll be very fun times in the coming weeks. Lots and lots of football to enjoy, lots of content to make as well. Thank you so much for supporting the channel as always. The views are racking up. I'm so thankful, very, very appreciative. I'm going to try to make some YouTube shorts as well and some other type of content coming very, very soon. Until then, guys, minasan, arigatou gozaimasu. Domo. Ciao ne.